Welcome to Digital Marketing Domination, the go-to podcast for digital marketers. Each week, we dive into proven digital marketing tactics, cutting-edge tools, and real-world case studies that help you dominate your market. This is your playbook for digital success.
Welcome to Digital Marketing Domination. Today, we're excited to have Justin Rashidi on the show. Justin is an expert in data measurement and marketing attributions, helping businesses make sense of their numbers and turn those insights into action. He's here to break down what really matters in marketing, guys, which is the analytics, the practical tips, and show us where AI is making a difference. Let's dive in. Justin, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to talk about data.
All right, man, let's jump into it. So kind of what got you into data and measurements?
Yeah, it was an indirect route, honestly. So we were heavily invested in, a lot of these marketing campaigns in the online world. We eventually, if you run enough ad spend at a high amount, you run into an issue where you can tell that the platforms are lying. There's some situations where if you actually sum all the revenue of all the platforms together, it's literally more revenue that was even generated in 1 month.
Correct.
And so you can basically tell that these platforms are incorrectly measuring. And that led us into the development a lot more into the data science and measurement world, where we were basically just trying to solve the problem of, okay, we need to be able to measure our campaigns a lot more effectively if we are going to make suggestions on budget allocation. And so that basically we knew people already, so we brought in a lot of really great resources in terms of data engineers I knew, and then a data science people I knew already. And yeah, that's how we kind of got started, is just focusing on solving our own problems.
So let's talk a little bit about, I'm a B2C business. I come to you and I say, hey, look, I'm doing a paid search campaign. I'm doing a little bit of social media advertising and maybe some display advertising. I obviously have my Google Tag Manager and I'm collecting the data on our paid search campaigns. And I obviously can refer back to GA4, but I'm still unsure of what the attribution looks like. What would be your steps to make sure that we set this up to be successful and be able to attribute that attribution?
Yeah, it's not necessarily that the attribution is incorrect. It's that the attribution can be over or under reporting. And so usually what we're trying to help is establish processes, basically a flywheel of process that allows you to understand the correlation between, say, a click-based attribution, whether it's in GA4 or in platform like Meta, Google, wherever you're advertising, and what we believe to be the true efficiency of that campaign or of that activity at a more business level. So when you're tracking a click, in GA4 there's performance, but it used to be last click, first click types of attribution. The problem with this is, you'll see email over attribute. Email drove all this revenue. It's where did those people came from, right? They didn't just come magically onto the email list. Right. And so when you start to do click-based attribution, you lose a lot of insight into what was actually driving performance. Okay, so a really recent one actually in the automotive industry is we're working with a company. They have both dealer sales and then, or wholesale dealers, and then they have a direct-to-consumer channel as well. In Meta, right, it's reporting that they're getting a ROA of 10, even though they're trying to exclude the dealers from the campaigns and they're trying to do everything to try to figure out the right return on ad spend. And so it's hard to actually understand, okay, well, was this actually driving a 10? Probably not, right? It was not driving a 10. It's ends up showing ads to people who are not, even though we know that this campaign is efficient because every time we turn it up, it's driving ad spend. So what we end up doing is we separate the campaign into a holdout region. So you basically find similar regions, and there's more data science to this, but the simple version is similar regions. You're doing some post-test analysis to make sure that they look equal, and you're basically either removing or introducing. In this case, what we actually did was we took one region and then we doubled the ad spend in one region and left the normal holdout test as the same ad spend. So that way we can measure if we increased X by X amount of ad spend, what was the true efficiency. And then that got us to what is an incremental. So we ended up seeing, okay, the only activities that were different between these two regions was the change in ad spend on Meta. And from that, we're able to actually go into, okay, how much did it affect dealers? How much did it affect new customers? How much did it affect return customers? And we're able to figure out, okay, actually they're focused on their new customers, and the revenue difference for this was actually closer to a 3.8 ROA instead of a 10 ROA. And that's still like a really like fantastic ROA. But now you can go back into the campaigns and start thinking about using this actually as the correct number for reporting and how it'll actually scale. So that way you're scaling into a forecast that you can meet.
You're listening to Digital Marketing Domination. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. For more than 30 years, J&L has been driving automotive dealerships to success. Our roots run deep in the automotive industry, giving us an unmatched competitive edge. With over 1,000 satisfied clients harnessing our industry-leading technology, we are your go-to experts in direct and digital marketing. Partner with J&L and drive your dealership forward. J&L Marketing, where experience meets innovation.
So, for a lot of people that are listening, maybe you've done direct mail advertising or email marketing. What he's kind of talking about is similar to like a control group study. So if you got 10,000 people to market to, say for direct mail or email marketing, you're holding back maybe 1,000 of them, and you're seeing how the 9,000 fared against the 1,000. What was the response rate? What was the buy rate? So you can kind of see, did you get that incremental lift? That's great. When you're doing the attribution, right? One thing that you said, you'll look at the data and sometimes it's overreported, sometimes it's underreported. What are some clues when you look at the data that it's overreported or underreported?
Usually it's overreporting when it's too good to be true. That's the obvious one, when it's like, most likely this campaign is not getting a 10. If you're spending significant revenue, like that's very unlikely for a direct to consumer audience. If it's underreporting, the big ones that underreport and that we focus on a lot are if you want to run campaigns that are view based. So the issue with view based campaigns is you can't actually track the click as much. Usually they'll see the view and then they go to organic search, or there's some workarounds for like trying to figure this out, but you lose a lot of attribution in terms of this. And so usually we'll see often click-based campaigns being a little frothy in how they're attributing. And then you'll actually see view-based campaigns like YouTube actually underreport generally how they're doing. And so there isn't direct signals, but like those are like soft guidelines.
You brought up a 10. Explain to the audience, what do you mean by a 10?
Yeah, so a 10 return on ad spend is basically for every $1 you invest, you get $10 in revenue that you generated.
Perfect.
The problem with attribution is that it might need to be like 3 on Meta, 2 over here, 1 over here, right? It's not actually 10 on each platform.
So if I'm a marketer and I'm listening and I'm saying, well, how the heck are you getting this data back into the engine to actually do ROAS? What are the best ways to go about that in a B2C world and a B2B world?
In the B2C world, if you're only direct to consumer, it's actually generally pretty easy to sync your commerce like platform back into the ad platforms. It gets a little bit more complicated if you're in the consumer world, if you're either on old architecture, in which case then we're usually talking about implementing a data warehouse, or if you're doing consumer but you have retail stores, you have your direct to consumer channel, and then maybe you have wholesale. In which this case then you need to again use some type of central source of data. Which is generally usually a data warehouse. And then you're able to sync and cleanse like all the data and then send that data from that location the same way. If you're using Shopify, you can send it right to the end location. You can then take that data and send to the end location. And this solves the problems like, oh, this person actually recently bought in person, so we don't need to send them an email because the direct-to-consumer team thinks that they haven't bought in 3 months when actually they bought offline.
So on the e-commerce side, it's always easy because you're using a platform like Shopify. What if I'm a business that I'm lead based, right? So my goal is initially to generate the lead. Then it goes over to a sales team that's closing the lead. How do you get that data back into the engine? And then with Google and the PII data, be able to know that was the source traffic median was from paid search or display or meta advertising?
Usually for B2B with a sales cycle, say like a medium like company range, usually the CRM does a really great job of if you're using HubSpot, it does a great job. If you're using another one, then you have to basically set up your CRM so it can actually do touch-based attribution. And then from there, usually we're talking, that's like the step one for B2B, because most B2B companies, they're honestly just not tracking the lead to a call or opportunity or a deal, and then going back to the campaigns. Like it's quite a simple flow, right? But most people aren't doing any type of lead optimization in terms of that. So Yeah, we see a lot of just, yeah, you should track your click. Like the B2B world's a little behind the consumer world, in my opinion.
Correct. And then, we do a lot in the automotive vertical. One of the challenges is, we're driving the customer to a website to submit a lead form or to pick up the phone and call the dealership. Then sometimes those leads don't necessarily get logged into the CRMs that they're using. And then once they're done with the lead in the CRM, it gets passed to what's called a DMS in automotive. So getting that record, that person that bought the car or serviced their vehicle, and being able to attribute it back to that someone that clicked on the ad sometimes can be hard. Do you have any tricks for us?
I mean, I don't really have a simple trick. The simplest trick is honestly put in place the right infrastructure. So I think, like, from my personal opinion, a lot of people try to make easy workarounds. And the easiest workaround is just a really great solution that will always function. And so this is where I usually talk about, a proper use of a CRM or the proper use of a data warehouse, where it's like, look, you need to sync these two data sources, right? Like, or if you have three, and like now you actually have a call tracking software, you might have a customer support, you have this thing, you have this thing, you need to like centralize them all together.
So we use Databricks as our warehouse. For people that are listening, that you've said data warehouse a few times. Explain to them what a data warehouse is and what type of business might need a data warehouse.
A data warehouse is just a fancy database. Honestly, like it's particularly good at data storage, merging tables. It can do everything that a database can, except it's made specifically for data querying instead of like an application where you're trying to like insert a lot of data all at once. When do companies need it? They generally need it if you have what you're kind of describing, where you're like, oh, well, the problem that we're running into is that we have data here in this spot, we have data here in this other spot. Oh, actually, we have this data in this other spot, and we don't know actually how any of it goes together. And because of that, we can't optimize anything. That's usually like a strong signal that something's happening at like the technology, like data layer, that would require something either like a more advanced CRM or a data warehouse.
You're listening to Digital Marketing Domination. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. Are you tired of generic marketing strategies that don't deliver results? At J&L Marketing, we're not your average agency. Our unique approach and deep data insights set us apart. With a 92% client retention rate and a focus on personalized campaign management, we're here to provide your business with the advantage it deserves. Visit jnlmarketing.com to learn more about our industry-leading digital marketing services.
We have clients that send out maybe direct mail, email marketing, and then maybe we layer over customer list match in the Meta platform or in the Google Display Network or the Amazon DSP to target that offline list. Typical match rates, at least in the States, are anywhere between 60 to 70%. The challenge that we run into is the attribution model is set up where the email and the mail kind of get the attribution, and the marketing that you're doing with Meta and Display don't, because it's typically last click attribution. What would be a better way to maybe set up that campaign that can kind of show the lift of the display and the meta advertising outside of doing a control group study?
Is the best way to show the lift of a campaign without doing a control group study.
And maybe that is the best way.
Everything else is a workaround, kind of, which is you're using some type of guessing thing. In my personal opinion, the best way is to do holdout testing. It sounds scary, but it's really not that scary. Getting data before, you're getting data after, and you're running a test. And I think that the problem in the industry is that a lot of marketers are scared of moving in this direction, where they should basically view this as a tool that they should be using. Of course, like we have, some type of data iteration or data testing system in all of our media processes. And I think that like the real answer is to do measurement testing and to be comfortable with it, because I think a lot of people are scared off by when you first learn like, oh, what's a data warehouse? It's like, man, it's not that complicated. Like data goes here, data goes there, it gets cleaned, a few things happen, right? It's like measurement. It's not that complicated. It's like, it's like there's some nuance and math in it, but like, you hand that to someone else to do. It's like, here's some data before and here's some data after, and here's the differences between the two. It's going to get you the closest to true impact versus everything else is going to be a guesstimate.
And we can't go a podcast without talking about AI. What are some ways that you guys are leveraging AI right now to help out with data?
With data, Not much, but like applying like AI application, I think on top of data, we're doing quite a bit. So we're doing a lot in workflow optimization. And so, yeah, like I think the number one use case of AI is just workflow optimization. And so it's nice when you have like a data warehouse and you can build nicer workflow optimizations around reporting and stream. Like even if you use, like some type of Tableau or like one of these reporting, Looker Studio, whatever BI tool that you use, sometimes the dashboard isn't that great and you want some specific information, right? It's nice to actually be able to put, once you have like a data warehouse or a central source of truth, you can actually build AI agents on top of it, and then you can automate a lot more reporting. I actually like the more exciting part, I think, of AI, in my opinion, is that marketers do less annoying tasks and they do more fun tasks. So,
Correct.
yeah, I'm like kind of anti, AI does all the creative. I'm like, isn't the creative like the fun part? Like that's the part, like that's the most human nature. I was like, AI should do, and this is what we see, like AI doing the more boring stuff, like updating documents, pulling reports, and stuff that you don't want to hire people to do.
We always say at our company, it's a junior analyst that never sleeps at the end of the day. It can do a lot of things that a junior analyst would do that would be mundane, task related things. And it does a good job summarizing some of the data as well.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I keep telling people that I think people are going to spend more money on ad spend actually in the future because operational costs, I think, will start to go down as people actually adopt AI more. And then they'll spend more money on ads, which is what I think is the most likely. Meta and Google get more expensive or get more valuable.
Yeah. And Google's right now testing AI Max as a platform here in the States that we're part of the beta test. So that will be interesting because the Gemini search results were going to show up ads here in the near future. So we'll see how that goes as well.
Everything's an AI thing now these days, but yeah, marketing. I think marketers should be excited by AI and they shouldn't be scared of it.
No, I agree. Let's talk a little bit about data and cleanness. How do you know if your data is clean enough to kind of trust it?
This is probably some of the parts where AI can't do that great of a job. In reality, if you're putting bad data in, then you're going to get bad data out. And so part of like cleanliness is just having just having a really great process. So usually when you're running data into like a pipeline, you will use a lot of code to actually help you clean it. You can use some like AI functions here to like flag if something is coming off strange, but usually the best way to like clean data is to actually have, when you're like first setting up a data source, to have manual review. Once that manual review is good, then you can actually then do like AI automation where it's like it flags if something looks wrong. But I still see that as a pretty manual process where you have to have the stakeholders all agree on the quality of the data, because someone might see like, oh, if you have three different stakeholders, they all see it from a different angle, and like it might look right or wrong from every different perspective.
Are you guys doing any predictive modeling right now, like taking offline data and looking at it, utilizing either offline data or a combination of offline and online, and kind of doing some modeling?
Yeah, we do a lot of actually predictive. Like predictive is really interesting actually on the stuff where once you have all your data in, then you can do like the same way like Meta does a lookalike audience. You can do a lookalike audience on your own data. And I actually find that really interesting for like churn analysis and stuff, where historically campaigns for churn have been post-churn. So the idea that, it's like, oh, I wait to send this person an email or an SMS or whatever once this action occurs. And what's really cool with predictive is like the pre-actions now. So you can figure out who's most likely to churn based off who just churned, right? And then you can actually start to make campaigns for the pre-churn. And so there's a lot of like really cool things in predictive that I think expand like marketing campaigns.
Are you guys using a lot of machine learning for that?
Yeah, it's all machine learning. So and you can only really do it if like you have like a large data source and like it's specifically like segmented pretty well. But you can do some really cool stuff. Basically, if you have a data warehouse or some type of like clean data source, then yeah, you can do a machine learning algorithm where it says, use these 5 attributes, find all the other people who are like closest to these attributes.
What are some things that you think our audience, if you're a marketing manager, if you're an owner of a business, CEO, that they need to know when they walk away from this podcast?
I mean, the number one thing, okay, well, if you're a CEO and you're not involved in marketing, I would say that you probably should be a lot closer to marketing than you actually think. It shouldn't be something that's totally delegated away. If you're actually involved a lot more in marketing, I would say that you should probably be closer to finance than you think. because a lot of what we're doing actually involves finance. This is like the most common one that I feel like I speak to is like when I'm talking to people who are on our marketing teams, I'm like, just so you know, like you need to know finance because at the end of the day, you're doing a lot of budget allocation. And so I would say, yeah, maybe, go into the direction that is opposite from your current domain.
That's hard for a lot of our marketers, even at our agency, is a lot of times when people get into creative or marketing, it's because they're on the creative side. But nowadays, being able to look at complex data and analyze the data, it directly correlates to your marketing strategy. And a lot of times that time's not spent on the data before we make the creative.
Almost everything feels like data and finance. And now to me, I'm like, well, like, the creative's really great, but it has to perform at this amount and you have to understand what demand it's going to generate and like be able to report on all these things to stakeholders, especially if you want more budget. And so, I don't know. People are so scared of like data and finance. And I just think that they shouldn't be. Like, make it easy, like get involved in it.
I don't think there's enough classes in high school that hits on the data and finance side. Like think about to your high school years. It wasn't until maybe college if you did a business degree, and even that, it's just specific to finances if you're running like a finance department.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the answer, but find people online and follow them, I guess.
Exactly. YouTube University.
Newsletter University. I'd say I follow a lot of newsletters on these different topics, but it really makes you, I would say, like a 10x marketer in terms of like the quality, because if you're going and talking to the CFO and you can speak their language, like it's like a totally different interaction. Same like if you're talking to the CEO, like if you can speak their language and knowing how like they communicate these things, it will help you translate your activities into what they think, and ultimately that helps the businesses that you're working with.
And that wraps up another episode of Digital Marketing Domination. A huge thanks to Justin for sharing his insights and experience with us. Remember, you can find all of our episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and YouTube. If you enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to subscribe, rate, and leave us a review. Thanks for tuning in.